Hello, everyone. It's Dayna Restaino here at Restaino Realty. I'm the broker of record here at Restaino Realty. And today we're having conversations about the market and market trends. I'm here with my business partner and husband, Frank. We're here with our newest agent, Joe Romano. He just got his license this summer. And we're here with Neil Robinson of Equity Prime Mortgage. And Neil, I would love for you to tell everybody about yourself and how long you've been in the
Great.
business.
Thanks, Dana. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me here today.
Thank you.
So, Neil Robinson with Equity Prime Mortgage. We're a local company right here in Manahawkin, New Jersey. I've been in this industry since 2005. I was brought into it back in the heyday of subprime mortgages by some guys I had actually known for a long time at that point. We actually worked together at the same restaurant when we were in high school and throughout college. We all ended up landing in this industry together and identified a need in this industry and decided that we were going to grow a business and develop a business model that focuses on educating our consumers and educating other real estate professionals on the process and what the financing means to people. And it was kind of revolutionary at the time, and we continue to revolutionize the business with the way we interact with our clients and our referral partners every day. That's who we are and what we do. We do it because honestly, we care about our community. And homeownership is a major part of the American dream and allowing people to start to build generational wealth and having the understanding of how the financing works and what it means to families is really at the core of what we do.
I love that. Now, Neil, since you've been doing this since 2005, I would love to pick your brain about. Now, everybody knows we experienced the crash in 2008. So I would love to pick your brain about the difference from now to 2008.
Yeah, so there's a lot of people out there that are saying, don't buy a home now, right? We hear it every day. There's a crash coming. It's just like 2008. It's not remotely like 2008. 2008 was a result of many, many, many factors. Uh, One of the biggest ones being a tremendous amount of fraud in the industry. In the mortgage industry, in the real estate industry, it goes from appraisers to realtors to mortgage brokers and mortgage originators, right through rating agencies and honestly, lawmakers, in Washington D.C. that put lenders in a very good position and told them they had to do these things that they probably wouldn't have done if they had not been pressured to. And that's just the market and political factors. There's so many other things that led to the crash of 2008. One of the things that blows my mind, and Joe, we talked about this not long ago, right? Is I love history too. So this really blew my mind when we talked about this and when I learned this. But the average age of a first-time home buyer is 33 years old. Mm-hmm. It's been that number for quite a few decades now, believe it or not. I thought it was younger, but it's not. That's what it is.
Wow.
And in the early 2000s, think back in history, what happened about 30 to 35 years prior?
What are we looking at?
The early 1970s.
Early 1970s.
Right?
What's that? Roe v. Wade?
Roe v. Wade. Yes. Abortion became legal.
Wow.
And 30 years later, there were less home buyers.
Wow.
But builders continued to build homes at the same rate they had for the prior 20 years.
Wow.
Not seeing this coming. Nobody saw that coming. So there was a glut of inventory on the market, right? There was a tremendous amount of fraud going on, right? And like I said, across the industry. So there's a lot of different factors that led to 2008. Right? Post 2008, it became difficult to buy a home. Right. It became really, really difficult. From 2008 through like 2012, 2013, it was hard to originate mortgages. It was hard to sell homes. Compare that to today. After the Financial Reform Act of 2010, it became really difficult to get a mortgage. Like you really have to qualify now. Mm-hmm. The days of just having a heartbeat and you breathe on a mirror, you got a mortgage. Like, it didn't matter what you do or what your income was or what your credit score was. People were getting financing to purchase homes above list price. They're getting money back at closing. It's just insane mortgage products. Again, wrought with fraud and just not putting people in good situations. That all changed in 2010 with the Financial Reform Act. So now we're in a situation where there's virtually no homes for sale. The inventory is the lowest it's been arguably in history, definitely in all of our careers, right?
Yep. Right.
Especially Joe's career. So we have a very low inventory, a difficult lending market, and that's the complete opposite of what we saw in 2008. right? So that's a simple fact of supply and demand. I mean, Dana, we were talking earlier about how many houses are listed for sale right now.
Right.
It's
It's very low. So on average, Long Beach Island, we used to have an average of over 400 listings for sale.
Wow.
That was pre-COVID. Now post-COVID, we're around 120. Um, so
More
that's
than half.
yeah,
Yikes.
that's less than half of 50% of what
Mhm.
we used to see
of a normal market.
in a
Right,
normal market when buyers had
Yeah.
homes to choose from.
Mhm.
So right now it's very slim pickings. It's very
Mhm.
difficult to find your buyers what it
Mhm.
is that they're looking for, just because it is such slim pickings. And we're seeing the same thing in Beach Haven West. On average, we used to see about over 70 listings for sale,
Mhm.
and we could barely crack 20.
Wow.
That's
So
crazy.
Yeah.
And that's a simple, that's like economics 101, right?
Mhm.
Supply and demand.
Mhm.
We have a lot of buyers because there are tons of qualified buyers out there.
right,
There's a lot. People
Mhm.
still have a lot of their COVID money. You know, people were able
True.
to save a tremendous amount of money in a short period of time, and they're very well qualified now. And these are people that are legitimately qualified. They're able to buy these homes,
Mhm.
and they're all vying for the same properties.
Right.
We got a lot of buyers to buy just a few houses.
Right.
Right. Economics 101, supply and demand.
exactly.
So that's why I think we're going to continue to see housing prices rise. And when interest rates do come down, because you know the other thing people want to talk about is
Right.
interest rates are the highest
Right. Right.
in our lifetime. They're the highest they've been.
Yeah. Let's
Right?
talk about that. Let's talk about the competitive market that we are potentially entering when interest rates do come down.
Yeah. So if interest rates come down, Joe, you gave me a great stat earlier today. If
Yes.
interest rates drop a point, how many people then come back into the market?
Yes, yes. According to BlackRock, for every 1% drop in interest rates, 5 million people re-enter the market, right? So if you're sitting around, what's the national average, 7.5% right now? If you're waiting for 5.5, that's a 2% drop. That's 10 million more people entering the housing market. If you think competition is stiff now, just wait till you have that influx of people.
That's
Right. And so sitting around and waiting for those interest rates to drop might not be the smartest decision,
Mhm.
although that's kind of what people are thinking right now. Right. So I would love to just talk about that a little bit today and just help people understand that, now with high interest rates is probably the smarter move. It's to buy now. Right.
You could
Yeah.
always
Not wait.
refinance.
And you can always
You can always
refinance. Exactly.
right? And what you can't do though is get back that money that you've lost through appreciation.
Okay.
Right? And we actually have a chart for this. We can throw up on the screen.
Yeah.
So this chart shows the difference between waiting, right? If you wait 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, you can see the amount of money you lose potentially. And this is on an average, what I could, over the past couple of years, consider a low appreciation rate, right? So waiting 1 year will cost you $31,000, right? And that's assuming interest rates are at 7% and they drop to 6. So if you're waiting 1 year for rates to drop to 6,
That's on a house that costs how much?
$500,000.
So we're looking at a $500,000
Yep, this is a
house.
$500,000 house.
All right.
So your appreciation you're going to lose in 1 year is $27,000. The amortization loss, meaning the principal that you're paying back, right? Because you're paying for something somewhere, whether you're renting or own another home, but you're going to lose $4,500 roughly in amortization and $27,000 in appreciation, right? So you got $31,000 cost that you just lost by waiting. Waiting for that lower rate costs 31 grand. If you wait 2 years, that number's 56 with $46,000 in appreciation. In 3 years, you're at $82,000 nearly, right? With over $67,000 in lost appreciation.
Wow.
And that's free money, folks. That's appreciation. The houses are going to continue to go up, right? And that's another conversation we can have too.
Right.
About
equity.
Equity.
Right.
And
equity and how to leverage that equity and use it for other purchases or finances. And I think that, it's easy to rent, but you walk away with nothing, right? As a renter, you have nothing to show for.
Right.
And I think this chart is an amazing way to sort of highlight how much money you make in that appreciation, right? Like Dayna always says, real estate is this tangible asset that you have and you own that comes with all these different types of benefits and incentives. But I mean, equity is such an amazing thing, right? And so you want that. Don't wait, buy, hold on to that property and let it appreciate in value. And then, now you have whatever, in 5 years, you got $300,000 in equity on the house, or whatever it may be. And, that's a huge advantage.
Yeah.
I mean, how much money do you throw away as a renter? What's the rent? What are people paying in rent right now, say, for an Ocean Acres house? It's
In
high, right?
Stafford, I
Yeah.
would say on average about $3,000 a month.
$3,000 a month,
Yes.
$36,000 a
Yep.
year, right?
What's your interest rate on that?
Wow.
100%.
Wow.
So
Exactly.
And you don't just rent for 1 year, you know.
No, typically no. So
That's a lot of money you're throwing away.
Yeah,
You have nothing to show for it.
and that leads into housing appreciation
Mm.
and how housing is just the champ of growing and creating more equity and more wealth for people.
Right.
Right.
Now, this is, historically speaking, something that is cyclical over time, but as far as the real estate market goes, through downturns, whether it was, back in the 70s or whatever, real estate goes a little bit down, but then it always goes back up, right? That's what the trends show and the charts show.
Correct.
Right.
And those charts, that's another chart we can throw up too. Over the past 88 years, since 1941, when housing prices started to be tracked year over year, how many times have housing prices actually gone down? In 88 years. 8 times.
8 times.
And 5 of those years were 5 consecutive years directly after the crash of '08.
Oh, wow.
So other than that, it was only 3. And there's spans of 12, 14, 20 years of appreciation every single year. And then 1 year of a 1% drop.
Mm.
So 3 times in a normal market has home appreciation gone down year over year. It's absolutely amazing.
So real estate as an investment is...
It's the champ.
It's the champ. I like that. Yeah.
Muhammad Ali.
It really is. It's amazing. So, yeah, so I understand why people are scared, right? In 2008, a lot of people lost a lot of money. I bought my first house in 2005 for $142,000. $142,000. The value of those properties dropped all the way down to $60,000
Wow.
by 2010.
Wow. And was your first house in Ocean Acres?
No, it was actually a house in Tuckerton.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Right? So it was $60,000. I ended up selling that property in 2016 or so. I rented it. I bought a new home, rented it for a few years. Made $6,000 on it when I sold it. I actually got a check for $6,000, so I lost money. Lost quite a bit of money on that. But I just saw that house listed for $285,000.
Wow. There it is. There's that appreciation.
So the point is, there's the appreciation, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it was 5 years where everybody got crushed,
Mm-hmm.
and then it appreciated almost 100% in the years following that. So
write it out.
that just goes back to show that housing is the champ, like we said.
Yeah.
You hang on to it. It's a long-term investment. It's not, quick, easy money a lot of times. But when we're talking about buying a primary residence or even a second home, right? It's about building wealth for yourself and for your family. It's a long-term goal. Plus, it's a lifestyle difference, right?
Yeah.
Somebody else once told me, the best time to buy a house is when it makes sense for you and your family. Forget about the market. Forget about the rates. Forget about the price even. It doesn't make sense for you at that moment, then you do it. The answer is no, then the answer is no.
Exactly.
Yeah. I think you're speaking to a different generation too, where the emphasis on family is really not there anymore, right? If you go to not necessarily the millennials, but Gen Y, they're renting and they're living at home with their parents until they're 30 years old, and they're not getting married until their mid 30s, and they don't really care about starting a family and buying a home. This idea of the American dream, I think, has been diluted over time, right? And so how do we get back to that as a society, right? Living in a world, people are scared, living in fear, the world's ending every other day. And Dayna, I know you had some stuff that you were talking about too, about being scared, right?
There seems to be this rumor going on that the market's going to get flooded with foreclosures. So back to what we were saying earlier is, buyers are qualified so much differently than they were when we saw that flood of foreclosures in 2008. We just talked about how they're vetted, in a whole different aspect now. So do you see us getting flooded with foreclosures, with that being said?
So no, we don't see a lot of foreclosures coming on the market, mainly because people who own homes now and have mortgages qualify for those mortgages. It's been over a decade now of people having to actually prove they can afford to pay the mortgage back.
Mm-hmm.
So you're always going to have some foreclosures, right? There's for different reasons. People get ill, people lose jobs. But what's going to help even offset those situations is the insane amount of appreciation that we've seen over the last couple of years. If you owned your house for more than 24 months, you have a tremendous amount of equity,
Sure.
regardless of how much money you put down.
Right.
Right? We're at 20+% a year in Ocean County for multiple years.
Right.
That's an insane number, right? So anybody who owns their home has equity right now, assuming they didn't take out a second mortgage or
Right.
cash out refis.
Right.
But the vast majority of people who, if they do get in financial trouble, are going to be able to sell that home. So we're not going to see the foreclosures, right? And we're not going to see a ton of houses coming onto the market that's going to flood the market with this massive inventory to see housing prices come down. It's just not going to happen. There's no reason for it.
That makes sense.
I do agree with that.
Yeah, good perspective.
Mm-hmm.
Another rumor squashed. The world is not ending. Real estate goes up.
Real estate goes up and interest rates are coming down.
Interest rates are coming
You
down.
can always refinance that mortgage.
Right. But it's not worth waiting for the interest rates to come down.
It's not worth waiting.
What does that equate to, on a monthly basis? If I go from, I don't know, instead of getting a mortgage at 7%, I want to wait to get a mortgage at 6%. What's that 1% difference really come out to monthly?
So on $400,000, it's $263 a month.
So $263 a month. That's assuming what, 20% down or no?
Yeah. So that's a $500,000 house with
Okay.
$100,000 down. So
Okay. All right. So there's no PMI involved.
$400,000 mortgage, no PMI involved. But even if there is, PMI is at the cheapest it's ever been since its inception. Yeah, it's really, really inexpensive.
Is PMI like a percentage of a loan, or how does that work?
It typically is.
I'm thinking we should touch on what PMI is.
Sure.
Because listeners might not realize that PMI stands for a private mortgage insurance.
Right.
And this is required when a buyer puts down less than 20%, right, Neil?
Correct.
Yes.
Yeah, you got it.
Okay.
And we'll talk about the advantages of putting less money down.
Yeah, less money down.
So,
Yeah. So one of the advantages of mortgage insurance is it's extremely inexpensive right now, especially for somebody with a good credit score. Somebody with a good credit score, meaning 740 or higher, can put 10% down on a home, and your mortgage insurance, right, or your PMI, could be as low as 0.2% per year.
Wow.
So it's really, really, really inexpensive.
Oh.
And believe it or not, sometimes you may be able to pick up an eighth in interest rate, right? You may get an eighth lower in interest rate for a 10 or 15% down loan versus a 20% down loan.
Really?
Yeah.
How does that work?
Well, think of it from a lending standpoint.
Okay.
With 20% down, we have no protection as a lender, right? Against the default or foreclosure. Right?
Mm-hmm.
With 10% down or 15% down, we now have mortgage insurance. And the purpose of mortgage insurance is to insure the lender against defaults.
Okay.
So we now have protection. So if you put 10% down, but you default, they're going to cover any losses that we have.
So a lower down payment is almost incentivized.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you could reduce your rate by 1/8 of a percent, if I understand this correctly, because the lender now has insurance to protect them against default.
Correct.
So now a borrower can keep that other 10% in high yield savings account. I mean, we're looking at 5.5% interest, high yield savings, which is great. So hold on to your money, keep it invested, borrow more, get incentivized,
or you can use that money to purchase a home that maybe isn't so nice, right?
Okay.
Right. Take that 10% down, $50,000.
Mm-hmm.
You can buy a house, negotiate a lower price because maybe it needs a new roof, or maybe it's got an original kitchen from 1985. Right? Maybe it needs new bathrooms. You can do 10% down, use that money to reinvest into the property, and now you're creating sweat equity.
So like
above and beyond the natural appreciation you're going to have on the property, now reinvested that money back into the house, and it's not costing you anything. Reduce your interest rate by putting down less money, and the mortgage insurance is super cheap. And the mortgage insurance goes away eventually too.
Yeah.
Right. It goes away automatically on the primary residence. There's a point where it falls off.
Once you hit that 20% mark, right?
22%.
22%.
22% is automatic. Yep.
Okay.
So.
Yeah. So it's not a bad thing to put down less money. The 20% myth, we talk about it at office meetings all the time. It's a myth that you need 20% down.
Right.
To purchase a home. You really don't.
Right.
First time home buyers can do as little as 3% down.
Wow.
And now that's for conventional, right?
Correct.
Because now, if you go the FHA route, then that's 3.5%.
3.5%. Correct. Yeah, and both programs are phenomenal. It's really just what makes the most sense for the buyer at that time, and what's going to put them in the best position. And it's about building a plan for them too, right? Like so many realtors and mortgage professionals look at each transaction as a transaction, but it's not. It's not an opportunity to build a relationship, right? Because on average, people buy and sell homes how often? Every 8 years.
Okay.
And I'm proof of that, right? I bought my first house in 05, bought my second house in 13, bought my third house in 2021. Didn't plan on it. It just happened, right? Didn't happen. Did not plan on it. It just happened. So I'm just another stat, right? So every 8 years they buy a home, right? Some people sell the previous house too. Most cases they do. So that's an opportunity to build a relationship, and keep those people in mind and build that plan for them,
Right.
Build a plan on how they're going to continue to build more equity using homes, right? Sometimes families grow, so you need a bigger house.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe your career's changed, you're making a lot more money, and you want to buy in a nicer neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
There's just a lot of reasons why people buy and sell.
Right.
And we want to be there for them throughout their life. And then their
Absolutely.
kids are going to buy and sell houses, and their grandkids, and we want to be here to help them.
Absolutely.
Right? And not just, it's not a transaction like so many firms look at it. And I know you guys don't, and we don't either.
Right.
So, yeah.
It's building that relationship.
Building
most
a relationship,
importantly.
yeah, and encouraging the growth of families.
Yeah, it
Love
really
that.
is.
Yeah.
It offers stability with families. You know,
Mhm.
we can get into crazy stats about how kids who come from homes that are owned go to college and go and become more successful, and
Mhm.
just
Mhm.
live better, more stable lives.
Right. I think I remember Anthony Bourdain said, "We can solve a lot of the world's problems if families would just sit down and eat dinner together." Just something as simple as
it's
that.
true.
I mean, remember, you sit down, you have dinner as a family, you get to talk about your day, and that's it.
Some structure.
Some structure.
It's absolutely true.
Right.
Yeah, somebody to hold everybody accountable.
Right.
That's what we
You
do.
know?
Build
Parents-
families.
Yeah, parents can hold their kids accountable and hold themselves accountable.
Mm-hmm.
By having
Again.
that family bond.
Right.
Right.
Just being present.
Absolutely makes a huge difference.
Yeah.
And home ownership leads to that.
Exactly.
It truly does. It really does. Gives people a sense of pride,
Mm-hmm.
something that they own, something they
Mm-hmm.
know that they're working towards a goal.
Mm-hmm.
No matter what that goal is, whether that goal is to help your kids live a better life, it's for you to retire. If you don't have any kids, build a huge real estate portfolio.
There you go.
Retire young.
Mm-hmm.
Be happy.
Yeah.
Right.
So
Many advantages to home ownership.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then going back to our market here,
Mhm.
so we're pretty much selling beach houses. We're selling houses on Long Beach Island.
Yeah.
And now people that could buy this as a second home, they could rent it. And if they're living in North Jersey, they could come down here and enjoy it. So you could have renters in here. They're essentially paying your mortgage, and then it's something you can enjoy a few weeks out of the year.
I love that idea.
yeah,
Being able to
Yeah.
do that.
yeah. Well, we know the rental prices on LBI for a week are just insane.
They
Yeah.
are.
And I talk to clients all the time that are hesitant. People who aren't multimillionaires that don't have $2 million to pay cash for a house, and they do need to do some financing. People that are teachers in New York and North Jersey. These houses are free. The rental income covers the entire carrying cost in many, many, many cases. And there's ways to qualify people for those mortgages too, knowing that they're going to rent it, where we can use the rental income to help qualify them. Right?
We had a
And,
closing not too long ago. I think they got $35,000 check at closing.
Yeah.
I kind of helped them the whole first year
Right.
Yeah,
And
of his
now
loan.
Oh,
They're
from
built-in.
leases that were in place
Mhm.
already. Yeah,
Wow.
it's amazing.
Mhm.
Yep.
Now they're
Yeah.
building equity.
Yes.
Their mortgage is paid
Mhm.
for, and it's most of all, it's a beach house. It's something they can
They can
enjoy.
enjoy.
Yeah,
There
it's a
you
beach
go.
house on an island in
Yeah.
the middle of the
Take
ocean.
2 weeks for
Mhm.
yourself.
Yeah. They're not
Whole
making
winter.
any more. They're not making any more land.
Right.
Not making any more waterfront property. That's for sure.
That's for sure.
Right.
You got what you got. So yeah, the houses on LBI and any short town really is just an unbelievably strong investment.
I mean, something I do tell a lot of people that we work with, buyers, sellers, it's Ocean County is a big bang for the buck.
Yeah.
As compared to Monmouth County, that's the next
Mhm.
county
Mhm.
over. Our
Mhm.
taxes are lower. Yes, we're a little further from city areas
Mhm.
like Manhattan, so
Mm-hmm.
that's a factor in. But
Close to AC and Philly.
yeah, but
And New York.
we
I'd say. Yeah.
We do seem to have more affordable taxes here. There also seems to be a bit less competition of people buying in Ocean County than in Monmouth
And
County.
Monmouth, yeah.
But some Monmouth agents that I do know, those something gets listed, those are still going very much over Xing.
Wow.
Yes, as opposed to our market, yes, some things are going over Xing, but where I at least here we're entering a market where we're back to doing negotiations, and you are able to negotiate and get your buyer in under the Xing price. So, which is just different than what's going on in Monmouth County.
Right.
Yeah, and the importance of dealing with local people. Like, we all live here in town, right? When our clients make an offer locally, we're calling that listing agent.
Right, and you probably know that listing agent.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. Whether we work with them on a regular basis or not, they know who we are, and that, in many times, solidifies the deal.
It does.
Solidifies the deal to call and say, hey, this is where we're at with this buyer. This is how they're approved. Don't have any issues. Everything's good to go. And knowing that you're dealing with somebody local, and you can pick up and call the phone, call them on their cell phone, and deal with somebody that you know, makes that seller much, much more comfortable. Right?
Absolutely.
I think you guys can speak on that as far as listing homes, right?
Yeah.
When you have multiple offers come in.
Yep.
If you have one from, bigbank.com versus a local vendor and somebody you guys know that you see out, sandbar on the boats, on the beach, that you can actually talk to, it makes a big difference.
It is actually going back to a listing that we had last winter, had multiple offers on it, and another agent brought me an EPM pre-approval.
Nice.
And I made sure, I told my seller, like, this is a company I've worked with before. They're local. I know they get the job done. And I pushed that, and that was my seller's deciding factor.
Yeah, that's awesome.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and it's so important with the realtor you select too.
Correct.
Because, there's not a lot of listings. So realtors are expanding their areas, right? There's a lot of out-of-area realtors here. They have billboards, you see their signs.
Yeah.
And you call them and ask them a question, and they don't know what a riparian grant is.
Or what a flood vent is.
What a flood vent. I mean, there's no idea. You see it's matter. And you ask them about the neighborhood. Like, how's the coves compared to Beach Haven West? What are the differences, The lagoons are wider, the streets are quieter, the lots are a little bit bigger. They don't know the answers to these questions.
They don't.
So they don't know the difference between Beach Haven West and Beach Haven.
Right. I correct people often.
All the time. Yeah, so it's really important when you're dealing, when you're talking about who are you going to hire to list your properties or even help you with that home search. It really matters, right? You want to deal with somebody who's local.
Right. And I like selling what I know. Like, that's what I do best. So me, I want to specialize in this area and where I live and what I know best.
Be the expert. Yeah.
I don't need to be the expert in Monmouth County.
Right.
So there's things that those agents know that I don't know.
Right.
So I like to know that I'm selling in an area where I could thoroughly help the client.
Yes,
yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
And you can do much, much better by embracing your competition, right? We say this all the time at work. Our competition are some of our best friends.
Right.
Because not everybody is great at everything.
True.
Right? You're much better off referring a deal to a realtor in North Jersey than trying to do it yourself.
Correct.
I mean, the amount of time it would take you to go up there and meet your clients and show homes and
it's a
not knowing the area, it really is.
Yeah,
you're much better off maintaining that relationship with that person.
Right.
Building a strong, solid relationship with your client by saying, hey, call Dayna in North Jersey. Got Dayna Manahawk.
Yeah, and I do. I have Dayna's in North Jersey, and I'm saying, like, if you want me, like, this is who you're going to work with. This is how you get me in North Jersey.
There you go.
All right. Well, we really appreciate everyone that has joined us today for this is our first segment, so I hope to do more. So if anybody has any ideas to shoot our way, topics we should talk about, stuff that you might find helpful, we're more than happy to sit down and talk about those topics. And if you want to find any of us, you could find me on Instagram, Dayna Restaino. I'm right here in Beach Haven West. They live here. My office is here. And Neil, again, is with Equity Prime Mortgage, also right here in the neighborhood. We're pretty much neighbors.
Yeah, we're right across the street.
Great. You can find me on Instagram, realtor.romano, on Facebook as well, and visit our website, restainorealty.com, and you can see everything that we're up to, all our listings. And again, thank you, Neil, so much for taking the time The goal here is just to provide some educational content. So we hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see you next time.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thanks, Joe. I appreciate it.